can't remember for the life of me what it is now. I've only collected like 1 or 2 of them for all my almost 200 hours now. I had a monk like very early on when Diablo 3 first released. Actually, it was about probably half a month after. And by then they had fixed it so you could actually log on and play it consistently. I had real issues with this game at launch. So it's taken them a while and a whole expansion to really get a nice formula going. But I definitely think it's more playable. And these guys aren't bad because they're using 2 things that are kind of similar effects. The Jailer, it'll lock you in place and deal damage like normal. And then the wall just gets in your way. And when there's multiples going, then they really throw like 4 or 5 walls surrounding you a lot. See, right there I tried to run away. And they were expecting it. So if they're ready with the wall, they can trap you really quickly. But the electrified's not bad, just keep your distance. And really reflect damage, I don't think I've ever really had it hurt me bad. It's pretty easy to counter. It's one of the resistances you, at least with the Witch Doctor.
Not ready yet. More time.
So this may be kind of boring right now. Who knows, I might lose these battles in, but
More time.
I was thinking we could always speed through them a little bit and then slow down and, you know, highlight some bosses. Hopefully I get warmed up and get some good footage, but there's one of the beasts here. So we're going to need to focus on him. And there's another Paragon level. So we can put another defense here, and it's resist all, of course. That works great with rings, and basically I have that special, and then the diamond on the ring.
Not ready yet.
And using the Nagel ring, it's pretty good already. So we'll drop a cold, and then we'll use the dogs here. And see how they spawn close to me again? Sometimes it does that. If the characters are so packed in there enemy-wise, then they don't have anywhere to fit, and they'll spawn right by your side. So, but you can see how many do like their usual respawn rate. You can amplify it quite a bit. And it's all it is just different skills that you set. And right now I'm trying to get my cooldown rate a little faster. I've got a couple items that help it a little bit. But I can basically cast my big area that slows. I can cast that all the time. But the zombie dogs take a little while. But they do heavy damage when I do have them. Like right there I got 2 extra and then another extra after that.
The wounds are fresh. The creatures who made them are near.
And so here's the scavenger den. This one's pretty standard. It's just cave scenario and bloody chests actually. There's a lot more bloody than normal. Those are the worst. They usually only drop a little bit of gold, and I got lucky with that one. So there's oftentimes resplendent chests in here. Maybe on the second area, we've got to get to there before we can actually get the bounty clear. You see how it all diverted to the other character real quick? It's actually dealing consistent damage. And there's a lot, so I automatically use the Soul Harvest again. And you just get used to that timing. These guys are going in and out of the ground. So it looks like they're coming back alive a little bit. Because they dodge basically all my attacks when they start the animation. So they pop back up with partial health from where they were getting hit. So sometimes that effect looks really neat, watching all the health bars. So there's a lot of mathematics in it too. It's like there's a grouping of over 5 or 6. So I try to use an area effect. My dogs are ready again, but I've kind of been trying to use that sparingly. I need to get better because sometimes I start playing the farther axe on this difficulty and I use my powers too early, and like right there, I'd like to have all my attacks ready to go. And see how everything's trapped? I can blow up the dogs a little bit. And of course just recast them. But saving them for there was actually critical. If I hadn't have blown them up like that, the gargantuan wouldn't have started attacking it. Sometimes you can move back and forth, but using these walls to hold them, then you just funnel them to your heavy hitters that probably won't ever die. At least not at this level. In Act 4 and 5, definitely it's tough. Diablo, he puts on a fair challenge. And there's that molten going off. So we just clear the way, and as you can see, Gargantuan doesn't get really hurt by that. He can take a lot of damage. And so here's Enlightened. We're going to get more experience now. And so we'll charge again. And since he's big, let's go ahead and blow up the dogs. Usually right when the Gargantuan changes, it usually sets you up to have a totally safe position to just fire from. And I think that just doubles back here. There's more enemy stuff. And the ice, they're immune to the ice. But, you know, it still causes damage being piranhas. Up until the expansion, the move like this, it was, it just cast on the ground and slow, but it wouldn't deal any additional damage. And the piranha actually do quite a bit of damage. You can get armor attributes to intensify the damage. But I'm going for, I'm just trying to find rates for the Gargantuan at this point. Because when he gets huge, he does tons and tons. And here's a hero here. And usually they have normal guys. Yeah, these are all special minions. So they're going to have millions of health. 33 million each. And then he's probably a little higher than that. Let's try to find him out of there. And it's just a mob right now. We can blow him up. And then recast him and try to trap him again with him. The teleporting's taking over now. Usually, by the time they hit you once, they'll teleport to you to keep their attack going. These guys might actually try to fly away low health, though. So as they respawn, I should have charged for that initial blast. There's a resplendent up there, so see how I went in the ground there? And more leaflets came out. So let's try to get everything to hit him real quick. That was pretty good. And then everything's casted again. So basically when it's down to one enemy, it doesn't really matter what they are. It's when they have a whole group of stuff that drops like frozen, for example, it'll drop like 4 or 5 extra. So it'll kind of chase you around the whole room, and you really need a lot of space. Like if they would have had frozen in that scenario, I would have had to go through the door and come back. And that's a safe way to do it. In hardcore character speaking, once they're gone, so if you're not good with the strategy, I don't even bother playing the hardcore set right now. The new expansion, they're going to have a version update and it's actually version 2.1.0, but it makes it so you can actually ladder play again, just like Diablo 2. I really enjoyed that back in the day, but they all have a statistical standing, basically. Within, it's a giant leaderboard. And hopefully it's set up so you can hop into a room and you get to see everyone in the room currently. If they added a lobby system of some sort, it'd be cool. So there's, 15 million points right there. Or, cash, I should say. Experience. That was quite a bit. And then we have tons of gold. See what I mean? I mean, at this level of play, you get millions of gold. And you can still, afford to break down every single item you come across. Just play on one of the higher sets, like Expert is good for your first run through. If you can beat it on Expert, you'll be getting a lot better gear. So by the time you're into your 40s and 50s, you'll actually have gear worth it. And then the problem is, you have to replace the good gear that you find eventually. And this I still haven't replaced because it grants me invulnerability no matter what to arcane damage. It heals instead, it gives me 20%. So hopefully we'll run across a group like that. So we'll go ahead and use the zombie dogs. And I can actually use those a lot more frequently. On the higher difficulty levels, but kind of a pain having to be stuck. Like, a lot of times I find myself, be patient, just because you use it without being able to recall them. And then sometimes it backfires and a whole group hits you at once. So if you let your character, like right there if I would have used them, and that thing didn't die and somehow all these connected. But there's some elites up there too, so. And they could be being summoned. Okay, they're just archers up here. So we'll go ahead and use the dogs. And they were down in this bottom group. So I kind of like that, exploding the dogs and then just to recall them back to your location. Because you'll leave whatever your gargantuan's fighting at extreme low health. And then usually you can just go to concentrate on another enemy of the group. But hopefully we'll see it here where if I drop the same fireball on top of it, you'll form a big turret. And it does quite a bit more damage actually. See if we can get it rolling again. There we go. And as you can see, I can just stand and molten. It's become pretty irrelevant now. I'm sure on the higher difficulty though, these traps will be the deadly part of the game. And right as my boost ran out. So that was pretty good timing on the elites. And there you can see I wasn't even shooting, it was just the columns of fire were still navigating to enemies. As long as they're in range. So that's a really cool feature. And then whenever something's out, then it goes to the next enemy full force. Almost whatever's left over in the attack will continue. And we're still finding the Nephilim mom unit here. Last time, this was where we started for that first segment of the video you guys saw. So, hopefully if we traverse it a little differently, we'll turn up better gear or something. Maybe an event chest. And there's a dungeon, so it was definitely not north of the spawn. And there's some random gold. 245. It all adds up. So we'll cast the slow on them here and then use the dogs. As long as they're trapped in there, they can't run away with Nightmare, so they're still getting impacted by it. And then cast the piranhas over and over. And you'll constantly keep them slow. Here's more loot. Here's frozen. See how many that was? There was about 4 or 5. And there's that arcane. So we're going to throw on the amulet. And now we can stand in it. And it's going to heal us the whole time. So even while we're frozen, we're pretty much safe. As long as it doesn't run out. We're still going to pay attention to the ice. And we almost got one of them. There we go. And we'll use the dogs again. And there's that freeze, so every time something has frozen, you gotta be really careful. At this level of play, you'll hit you 3 or 4 times and you'll be out. And then that amulet, man, I can't believe it. I found that at level 43. So I might have even been lower than that at the time. I can't remember. But it gives me fire skill, and then I changed one of the stats to intelligence, and then attack speed as well. But it gives me arcane protection. I'm still using lots of resist also. My arcane protection is pretty good, even without that. But it's still some of the most deadly. Early on, it'll often be your first death. That dang arcane pops up. We'll go ahead and use the dogs. And we actually got quite a few of them to respawn that go. Which I need to show you guys that. I haven't even done that yet. Let me get through this mob here. My guy should get him from there. But my skills, I'm using the firebomb with the pyrogeist on it. And I think it's using, yeah, that is the firebomb with the pyrogeist. It creates that column that can multi-hit after enemy death, so it's really important. And then piranhas, of course, this is the expansion. And of course, those skill sets are going to be a little bit OP. You know, that's the cost of the game, really. Some of the stuff is a little bit, outrageous powerful. And then again, it's, hopefully they've made the formula better where the multiplayer aspects are going to be a lot more lucrative. And then summon zombie dogs, of course. And they're set to heal me as they attack. And then that's that soul harvest I was using. And it amplifies all my intelligence. I feed on the life force to increase intelligence for 30 seconds. But it stacks to 5 times, and then I increase the duration of it. So usually by the time it's gone, I still have a little, I can still be using it. And then that'll give you a little more time to, assess a group of enemies and actually strike them. If you just go into the group of, usually try to count them. If there's 6 or 7 and they're little guys, then definitely just run up to the spiders or whatever, and it really improves fighting tactics. This might be the slow part of the video. I don't know, maybe I'll try to edit them differently somehow and give you at least a choice of how to watch it. And so each zombie dog I sacrifice has a chance to resurrect. And that's my other skill set, is the sacrifice. And it's really good. You summon the dogs, and then when they're ready, you can blow them all up for, extra attack damage. In this case, they have a chance of respawning, which is phenomenal. And then the gargantuan is set to the restless giant. In my opinion, my favorite. Like, I tried these and it was like, no, that's not that great. Even the stun enemies you think would be awesome, it's really not that great for the witch doctor, because you're already freezing them if you're using the skill set with the piranhas. It makes it a little easier to progress, really. There's killer poison builds, but those are, still have to rely on your equipment and everything. But I'm using zombie handler. So that's 1 more zombie dog. That's up to 4. And then the gargantuan also gets their stats, their health is increased. And I believe that actually affects the Witch Doctor himself somehow. I can't remember what percent, but it was in one of the recent updates they actually changed one of the stats. And then Fierce Loyalty is another dog, so that's up to 5 now. And then Zombie Dog, Gargantuan, and the Fetish, when you're not in combat, your movement speed goes up by 30. So that's how I'm running around so fast. I could change that one to give me some other boost, but I like that one for the movement speed because then I don't have to have any gear. I mean, I can have a couple extra pieces that increase movement speed, and it's just an added bonus. But really, it's 30% is good enough to get out of the way of most enemies. And then this is my last little skill set for the zombie dogs, and that gives me equivalent of 6. So every time that's summoned by zombie dogs and gargantuans, the damage is increased by 50%. So that's really cool. And then, of course, the extra damage. And it's just, increased by 20%, but everything costs 30%. And really, I don't use mana at all. I'm the summon type. If I was using like the fire bats or some other form, like maybe the acid, that is, really mana intensive. But the way I'm set, it's just rely on my wall of people to keep the enemies at bay, and then as long as I'm freezing them the whole time and using like the sacrifice move, it kills them if, I get my amplified stat up high enough. And basically you get to the point where you try to run around with it on the entire time. And then you'll do completely fine with the game.